All right, Counter Punch Boxing, and here we are. It's been a couple days, guys, but I'm back. So better late than never, I guess. But in typical Canelo Álvarez fashion, we're finally getting the Gennady Golovkin Canelo Álvarez trilogy come September 2022. Now, spoiler alert, okay, Canelo wins this one split decision, but not without a valiant effort from Gennady Golovkin. Why, you ask? Well, it's pretty simple. Gennady Golovkin's like 100 years old now, okay? Now, this is not my official prediction, but, you know, it was my first immediate thought when they announced the fight coming up in September on DAZN, of course. Okay, now let's go back. Remember, last time Canelo fought someone in their prime, and it wasn't totally geared into Canelo's favor. Of course, we're speaking of the one and only, the great Dimitri Bivol. Canelo lost, okay? And look, Canelo rehydrates to a light heavyweight. Don't give me that smaller man stepping up to a bigger challenge BS. He lost. Get over it, okay? And the time before that, of course, completely schooled by Mayweather. And somewhere in the middle of all that, I believe he lost twice to Gennady Golovkin. And here we are. We're going to do this a third time, possibly a fourth time. So, look, let's do this. First, let me just say to all the Canelo fans out there, look, I commend you for stepping up to the plate, admitting the truth, coming to terms that Canelo Álvarez lost the first two fights. Big ups to you Canelo fans for coming clean, okay? And, before we get into, the nuts and bolts of all this, we're going to break down the first two fights. Here we go. Okay, now I got this off of Facebook by the numbers, a brilliant piece. Canelo, Gennady Golovkin, 1 and 2, 6 judges. Of course, we know that. Canelo, Gennady Golovkin, 1 and 2, 24 rounds. Okay, look, we're just going to take a little walk in history here, right? Down memory lane. Canelo won 41 rounds, Gennady Golovkin, 31 rounds. According to the judges, BYRD scored for Canelo a 10-2. 118, I mean, come on. And we know why Adelaide BYRD did that. It was Golden Boy. It was Oscar De La Hoya. It was all about the money. That's why, Adelaide BYRD did what she did. One of the most egregious scorecards in boxing history. Okay, Canelo Álvarez, Gennady Golovkin, 1 and 2, 31-29 without BYRD's score. Now, keep that in mind, okay? Gennady Golovkin outlanded Canelo 452 to 371. Gennady Golovkin outlanded Canelo plus 81 in 24 rounds. Okay, let's continue. Triple G outlanded Canelo 18 of 24 rounds. I mean, these are the facts, guys. You can't argue the facts. Canelo outlanded Gennady Golovkin in only 4 of 24 rounds. Okay, I don't mean to go fast, but you guys know my brain's rapid fire. We got to get this done. Gennady Golovkin outlanded Canelo in 75% of the rounds. If you want to put a percentage on it, these are the facts. Okay, this is, undeniable. And of course, Canelo 32, Gennady Golovkin 141. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's another cherry pick from Canelo. But look, I'm not giving up on Gennady Golovkin quite yet. Okay, I need to do a lot of thinking on it. I need to see the training camp. I need to see, the press events and things like that, and kind of see where, Gennady Golovkin's at, in his head and things like that. Now, I'll say, I wish he had Abel Sanchez, okay? Canelo landed 84 punches against Bivol. Now, why is that important? 117 punches against Plant. That's important because, again, Gennady Golovkin typically lands around 200 punches per fight. That's his average, according to BoxRec, CompuBox, whatever fact you want to look at, fact piece, should I say. Gennady Golovkin outlands. Now, Bivol said, we saw Canelo plodding forward behind a high guard and loading up on single power shots in that fight. It was the style that Canelo was routinely used throughout his 17-year professional career. Bivol quickly neutralized Canelo's one-dimensional game using movement, stiff jab, combination punching, and a tight guard. On top of that, Canelo gassed out, okay? And Canelo was flat-footed against Bivol. He gassed out. We know what happened. He lost. Okay, here's Gennady Golovkin right here. Now, we're going to get into the weight because that's important because, look, Canelo always wants to drain people or bully people, weight bully people, things like that. I mean, Amir Khan comes to mind. That was so horrible. Chavez. I mean, so many come to mind. But let's look at this lineup here, okay? You got Moreta, Zermeta, Sergey Darvyanchenko. Now, this is Gennady Golovkin's lineup, and I'm going to admit, it's not that impressive. I think Canelo has the better lineup when you look at the past 5 opponents. But, you know, when you really break them down, you realize Canelo always had an advantage. And again, going into the trilogy with Gennady Golovkin, he has another advantage, okay? The weight advantage, which we're going to get into. And, of course, you know, being nearly a decade younger than Gennady Golovkin. Now, let's look at Canelo, 57-2-2, with, I'm going to say 3 or 4 losses, but whatever. You know, we'll continue here. You know, the reach is about the same, around 70 inches. Canelo a little bit shorter than Gennady Golovkin, maybe an inch or 2, you know, so not that big of a difference. But, of course, Gennady Golovkin, Bivol lost, Plant, meh. Billy Joe Saunders broke his face. Yildirim wasn't impressed. Smith wasn't impressed. Kovalev was paid off. We know that. Rocky Fielding, meh. Okay, back in 2017, Gennady Golovkin won. 2018, Gennady Golovkin won. Cesar Chavez Jr., weight drained, okay. Amir Khan, a career light welterweight. I think, what, maybe 3 fights at welterweight at that time. And then, of course, goes up to fight Canelo Álvarez, and Canelo nearly killed the dude. It was ridiculous. You know, I was at the Kirkland fight at Minute Maid Stadium. I was there, and it was brutal. Okay, Kirkland had no business in there. And you guys remember, what was it? Ann Wolfe. Golden Boy said Kirkland couldn't use his coach, Ann Wolfe. Now, she was at the fight. She was very upset. I think I interviewed her, if I remember right. Same thing with Chavez, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I was at that fight. He was weight drained, looking for a payday. You know, Sergey Kovalev was like 110 years old. You know, took a dive, got paid. It just goes on and on and on. And now here we are, you know, Canelo, after 5 years, okay, from 2017, from the original Gennady Golovkin-Canelo Álvarez fight, you know, we're getting that trilogy. And who knows, maybe Gennady Golovkin wins and we get a 4th fight. Maybe this is just a big marketing scheme, a way for these guys to make money. I don't know. Okay, just to go over a few of the details here, Gennady Golovkin, of course, we just went over the first fight in 2017. You guys know this. Now let's see. It says, if he did something wrong once, it cannot be completely forgotten, Golovkin stated. You don't come out clean after you did something wrong. It's all I'm saying. Now, what are they talking about? They're talking about when Canelo tested dirty for clenbuterol. Various pundits had Gennady Golovkin winning. The next bout was initially postponed due to Canelo getting suspended by the Nevada Athletic Commission after failing a drug test for clenbuterol, right? Those tainted tacos. You guys remember he blamed it on the beef. Canelo blamed it on the meat in Mexico. Now, again, I want to get into the weight because this will be the first time that Gennady Golovkin has fought at this weight. And again, when we talk about advantages for Canelo, this is going to be a big one, I think. It's going to be a big factor. We know Gennady Golovkin, you know, he rehydrates just over the middleweight limit. He's not a big middleweight. Canelo drains down, balloons up to a light heavyweight, 175 and above. I mean, look at Daniel Jacobs. I think he was like 180, okay? So, but we'll get into that. So here we go. What weight is Gennady Golovkin versus Canelo 3? Gennady Golovkin, Canelo 3 weights. The trilogy fight between Canelo and Gennady Golovkin will take place at super middleweight with a limit of 168. All of Canelo's super middleweight titles, IBF, WBA, WBO, WBC, Ring Magazine, will be on the line. Okay, I mean, this is just ridiculous. I mean, why is it at 168? Right here, Gennady Golovkin, the natural 160-pounder, but Canelo clearly bigger man at the weigh-in. Now, that was in the last fight, of course, but this is what Canelo does, okay? He's going to come in, you know, he's going to basically melt down to just below that limit, that 168, and then he's going to balloon up. So it's going to be a small middleweight, Gennady Golovkin, rehydrating around 162, 163, 164, fighting a middleweight, or I'm sorry, a light heavyweight at 175, 180. So Canelo's probably going to have a 15, 20-pound advantage, and he's probably going to try to just bully Golovkin around on fight night. That, again, there's always a tactic. There's always a hoop, a loop you have to jump through when you're facing Canelo, always.